Welcome to another episode of Three's a Crowd. Alongside Eli Atwood, I'm Preston Vargas. And Eli, we'll start with the Phillies losing to the Dodgers in 11 innings, eliminating them from the NLDS. Now, is this a bigger loss for the Phillies or a big win for the Dodgers?
I'd say it's really a larger loss for the Phillies than it is for the Dodgers. A lot of people had high hopes for the Dodgers coming into the playoffs, as with last year, and the Phillies, they had a strong record, but it just wasn't enough.
I mean, the I agree with you. This is a bigger loss for the Phillies because of this point. They they've always been right there in the conversation, just haven't been able to get over the hump since they went to the World Series in 2022. You got to feel bad
Yeah.
for their pitcher Kirkring, who is Pa has put the ball in play. The catcher Realmuto told him to throw it to first to get out of the 11th inning with the bases loaded. Said he tries to get the play at home and it goes over the catcher's head and scores
Mm.
the game-winning run. So what a horrible way to lose for the Phillies. But the
Yeah, it's a rough loss for them.
Dodgers look pretty good. I mean, they were both of our World Series picks, and we're glad they're still alive. But depending on who they will play the winner of the Game Five between the Cubs and Brewers, which the Brewers were held scoreless in the postseason for the first time this season, and the Cubs, I think
Yeah.
we're in for an interesting Game Five after the Cubs got blown out the first two games in Milwaukee. So it'll be interesting to see on Saturday.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Then moving on to another Philadelphia team, the Eagles. What happened to them? Go up the New Jersey Turnpike to New York City to play the Giants, lose 14 to 17 on Thursday Night Football. And what is wrong with the Eagles?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the Eagles this year, but it seems like something's not clicking, that their offense just isn't running correctly, it seems.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles need to get stuff done. They need to. I don't know what's wrong with them. It's pretty much their offense at this point, but you have Saquon Barkley not running the ball as effectively. And they had four tush pushes in a row toward the goal line and finally scored. But the Eagles need to figure their stuff out on offense. There was a play that in the second half, I believe, Jalen Hurts threw a pick while AJ Brown was wide open on another route. I mean, you can't do this if you're Jalen Hurts. You got to look for the open guy instead of throwing picks.
Yeah, for sure. Hurts is part of the problem.
I mean, hopefully they can get that sorted out. But for the Giants, Jackson Dart looks pretty good.
Yeah, I think this is a good sign for the Giants. Darts looked good. Scattaboo really coming in now. So
He had
can't complain if you're a Giants fan.
three touchdowns for me in fantasy last night for Camp Skadboo, 31 points. I'm pretty happy with that. And then Jackson Dart,
Yeah, good
195
day to have him in
yards.
fantasy.
Yeah. Even though he left the game for a few plays, he came back later in the game. And then,
Yeah.
but I think the Giants should be okay. I mean, they have a pretty tough schedule to go on the road to play the Broncos and the Eagles in a couple weeks. Now that game was in at the Meadowlands. Going to Philadelphia is different for them. It'll be a much
Yeah,
harder
for
game.
sure.
The chance for the Eagles to get right at home that day. The Broncos aren't an easy out either, especially going on the road to the thin air of the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's always a home field advantage.
And then as this game was on Thursday Night Football, to me Thursday night football has been kind of boring lately. Is it time to scrap Thursday night football?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I feel like teams aren't prepared going into Thursday night football. It's too short a week, and honestly, it seems unnecessary to me.
I think so too. I mean, you're on a 4 day rest to try to play a game that most teams have a week off to prepare for, and players come in not healthy at all going into the game. I can give you examples. We know Brock Purdy's not going to play this week in Tampa, which it wouldn't have impacted last week against the Rams, but 49ers were banged up even though they got the win against the Rams. It just looked sloppy that game. It's funny when we see
For
Sun
sure.
Belt teams, Conference USA teams play sloppy. It's not funny watching NFL teams play sloppy.
Yeah, exactly.
I looked at the schedule. Luckily, the Bears avoid Thursday night football. The next week, you got the Steelers and Bengals. I mean, that looks like it's going to be a slot fest. And then Vikings and Chargers, which should be a good game on paper. And that's the thing. These games are typically not very good on Thursday night football. It's just a way for more exposure, especially if it's behind an Amazon paywall. It's just not worth it to have it,
Yeah, I think it's just,
in my opinion.
it's just a revenue check for the league.
If you want to see the best players on the field, then and play at 100% for the most part, they should play on either Sunday or Monday and give the normal amount of time off.
Yeah,
And then moving
I
on
agree.
to the UFL, three new teams confirmed for not really expansion, more like relocating teams, and a couple teams rebranded.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with the Orlando Storm. Professional football's coming back to Orlando. They'll play at Interco Stadium beginning in the spring of 2026. How excited are you for that?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Hopefully, third time's the charm here out of our recent attempts. I think Intern Co is a smart choice for venue. The last one in Camping World was just empty. It felt
Too
desolate,
big.
Yeah.
I mean, playing in a 20,000 seat stadium could probably work for them. I mean, you could at least get 50% capacity and
Yeah, and I heard they're also going to try to move towards having local players on the roster, which that just makes sense for a lot of reasons, really, I think. You get
exactly.
people, local crowd behind the players, people they know, and then also it'll be a little easier on the players not having to move across the country too.
I mean, exactly. You have if you have local players, then they'll show up to games, especially if you've seen them and play high school football locally. And
Yeah,
they go to
exactly.
Florida, Florida State, or UCF. Them coming them coming to back to Florida to play to continue their professional career and eventually go up to the NFL. I like this move for to put Orlando back in. I mean, when the for the last team, the Guardians, when they were 1-9 in 2023, I watched every single snap of that team.
And painfully so.
Yes. And hopefully we can have a better product on the field this year, but I'm probably going to get season tickets for that. It's only $50.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Then the other teams, the Louisville Kings, they announced that they're going to play at a USL stadium, which is the second division of professional soccer, but it's a 15,000 seat stadium. But I think Louisville, Kentucky could work for as a football town. The Louisville Cardinals pretty
Yeah, for
popular,
sure.
plus drawing the fans from um the other school, the University of Kentucky in Lexington.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you definitely have a lot of college football history in that area, just never a professional team.
And that area is more like a like basketball country, but I think football
True.
could work pretty well there too. I mean, it has worked. Louisville's obviously the more popular football team there. Kentucky's an up and coming football team. Well, they were
Yeah.
the late 2010s, early 2020s. Now they're not
Yeah,
great,
they're kind of dying off now.
but that's another conversation for a different day. But and then Columbus Aviators coming into the league, they'll play at the old Columbus Crew Stadium, which is just north of downtown. I mean, Columbus, probably one of the best spots to be in my opinion.
Yeah, big city with little amount of professional sports. Definitely a smart market, I think.
And for you have the Ohio State players coming in that didn't quite make the NFL. You also have the Ohio MAC schools like the Kent State, Ohio University, Miami of Ohio, also Cincinnati down the road. I mean, you have a pretty solid, uh, pretty solid pool to pull from in terms of players.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of options nearby.
Now let's discuss the teams that are not returning. The Michigan Panthers play at Ford Field. Obviously, they're not returning. Also, the Memphis Showboats, as you know, they had attendance issues at the Liberty Bowl. They're gone.
Yeah.
A surprising team that left, the San Antonio Brahmas, leaving leaving that market. Do you think this was a good move to get rid of these three teams?
Yeah, I think it was a smart move. I mean, obviously with San Antonio, you may be questioning a little bit, but they are trying to move towards those smaller stadiums, and there just really aren't a lot of options in San Antonio
Yeah.
for them to move to. So they either have to play in a big empty stadium or they need to really commit to their goal and move. So I guess it just depends on where we see the UFL.
I mean, for me, that we knew Michigan and Memphis were probably on the chopping block, even though the Michigan Panthers are the defending UFL champions, technically.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
But obviously, Ford Field wasn't going to work in the long term. There's not really many big cities outside of Grand Rapids or Flint or Lansing in Michigan. The Michigan schools, Michigan State and Michigan have too big of capacities. And then the other Michigan MAC schools are in the middle of nowhere, except for Eastern
Yeah,
Michigan, just kind of closer to Ann Arbor. But they got a
yeah.
surprisingly they
Their
have a big
facilities
stadium.
aren't the best. Yeah.
And
I think that's Max Crosby Field, right?
I think so, yeah.
think that I think they've named it after him because he paid for them to get a new field or something.
Yeah. And then the other team, Memphis, obviously they had massive attendance issues and that was probably the one of the first teams to go. But then
Yeah, that makes sense.
San Antonio, I'm not really sure about them leaving the league because that's one of the largest markets without an NFL team. They were pretty solid in attendance. And that's a good football market, but like you said, with the smaller venues, it didn't really have a good venue in San Antonio, except for some high school venues. And their local soccer team, San Antonio FC, has a pretty small capacity stadium that I think it's under 10,000, which wouldn't work well for the UFL's goals.
Yeah, I think they were looking for like 15 to 25 ideally.
Yeah, but what I would have done is move the team up to Austin, and you're still in the Central Texas, and then they have an MLS team there at Q2 Stadium,
True,
which
yeah.
is a pretty solid venue. You could have done that, and then get rid of the Houston team, which they had attendance issues,
Yeah, for sure. The Houston team is kind of like a question mark, and I'm not really sure why they did that.
and then
why they kept it.
I see why they kept Dallas because that's where the league's headquarters are, and you got a big talent pool up there. And but you could have got rid of Houston, still had the talent pool go to Austin or San Antonio, wherever they wanted to keep the team. And then the other teams that were kept, obviously DC Defenders, St. Louis Bellhawks, pretty high attendance. And then Birmingham was a question mark, but it was a good choice to keep them there. So you could pull the all the talent pool from the South, the deep South, into the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, for sure. I think Birmingham is still a solid team. You know, they had the UFLs playing only there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and in that time, I think it worked well enough.
I remember in the USFL days, they when they had the stadiums completely open, they had pretty good attendance for the Birmingham Stallions. But
Yeah.
when the merger came, they had that stupid blocked off sections where they only had one side of the stadium full, which we were at the
Yeah, like they did in Orlando.
yeah,
That's always been stupid. It's just it makes it feel unnatural.
yeah. You have the everybody on one side and a whole closed section on the other. It just didn't make sense to me when we were at the
Yeah.
first Guardians game and they had that whole situation. You could have sold a lot more tickets and just have everybody scattered around the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a cost-cutting thing, trying to save having to open up the whole stadium, but still, it just feels inauthentic and
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see why it makes sense to cost cut that way, not having concession workers over there and only concession workers in areas that are open. But it'll be fun to see how the what the UFL does this season. Now moving on to college football, game of the week, Indiana and Oregon. What are you expecting from that game tomorrow at 3:30?
it should be a good game. Indiana's come off pretty strong this year. Obviously, Oregon, as per usual, is doing very well. We'll see if the Indiana offense holds strong.
This is a great quarterback matchup. You got Fernando Mendoza on one side for Indiana, playing at a Heisman level this season, building off their college football playoff appearance last year. They're showing that they're not a fluke, that they can run with the best. And then Oregon with Dante Moore getting that huge win at Penn State in the whiteout game. I think this will be a classic game for sure.
Yeah, but I will say after last week, do you question is Penn State not that good? That's kind of a story here for Oregon. Have they really beat a true contender? So we'll see how they do this week.
They beat a they beat a decent team in a very, very hostile environment. At the time,
For
Oregon,
sure. I'm not
yeah,
discrediting the win, but it's just something to keep your eye on.
that for sure. But I think if Penn State wants to, I think they're out of the college football playoff race, but they still want respect and potentially make a decent bowl game like the Citrus Bowl. They gotta win out for sure and not lose games that they should win, like the UCLA game last week. I don't know how they lost that game,
Yeah. Just they got let him get away with it in the beginning and couldn't come back.
but this game, I think the winner of this game will go to the Big Ten championship for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And now let's get a quick game pick for that one. What you got, Indiana or Oregon?
Oregon's at home and it's a pretty hostile environment. I think I'm going to take Oregon as much as I like Indiana and the Hoosiers.
They say it never rains at Autzen. I don't know where that came from, but it's a good saying. I'm taking the Oregon Ducks at home. Indiana traveling cross
Um,
country. Now going to our Saturday selections. It'll be from Columbia, Missouri, Alabama, and Missouri. Who wins that one?
So Alabama, Mizzou. Most people, I think, are going to think to take Alabama here, but I'm taking Mizzou at home.
I think this will be an incredibly close game coming down to the wire. This is a tough pick for me. I think this goes to overtime and Alabama wins.
Alabama.
And now the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. Who you got there?
You know, Texas is at home, but I don't really care. They just lost to a really terrible Florida team. I'm taking Oklahoma.
And this matchup, I think they're playing at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, where they usually play.
Oh, well, either way, yeah.
But Texas is desperate for a win. And the number six Oklahoma Sooners have looked good. They play they played Auburn pretty well. I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Oklahoma in this one in a close game. And then to their both teams' former conference, the Big 12, TCU and Kansas State, who's going to win?
It's a tough one for me, but I think I'm going to go with TCU. Even as they're going away to Kansas State, I'm still taking TCU here.
Yeah, I got the Horned Frogs too, and I think Kansas State off to a pretty poor start to the season, but yeah, TCU staying in the Big 12, Iowa State and Colorado.
You know, Dion's looking for a big win here, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just sticking with Iowa State here.
Colorado's off to a 2-4 start. This feels like a trap game, in my opinion, for the Iowa State Cyclones. They lost last week in their first loss of the season. I don't know. This is going to be a close game, but I think Dion will pull it out somehow. And then Nebraska taking on Maryland. Who you got?
Think I'm going to go with Maryland at home. You know, Nebraska, they've got the star quarterback and everything, but Maryland, give me the home field advantage. I'm going to take it.
Nebraska's only loss of the season coming to at home to Michigan. Both teams off to a 4-1 start. I'm going to take the star quarterback Dylan Raiola going on the road for a signature win. Then the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Georgia and Auburn. Who you got?
I think I'm going to stick with Georgia here. You know, the better team, Auburn at home, but staying with Georgia.
I agree with you there. Georgia, the much better team in this one. Going to a hostile environment at Jordan Hare, one of the best atmospheres in the country. But I think Georgia is the better team and will prevail. Now, Michigan going out to Los Angeles to take on the USC Trojans. Both teams off to a 4-1 start. Who you got?
You know, Michigan's coming into this one having to fly across the country. USC is trying to have a prove it win here. I'm taking USC.
The fact that this is a conference game, even though that this is their second season in the conference, it will never feel right to be a conference game. So I'm taking USC at home in a big win. In the Big 12, BYU and Arizona from Tucson. Who you got here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to rock with the ranked undefeated BYU here, even as they go away. I don't think it's going to matter too much.
I like BYU too. They're clearly the best team in the Big 12 right now, even though they had a quarterback controversy they in the before the season. They're riding by their current quarterback and they're looking pretty good. Give me the Cougars. And then Arizona's rival, Arizona State. Both of these rivals playing against each other. Arizona State and Utah,
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. Who you got here?
You know what? I'm taking Utah. They're at home. They've got the equivalent record, you know, but Arizona State this year, I feel like there's just not quite the same as they were last year. I think this is the game to show it.
This is one of these Pac-12 after dark games. I'll still call it that, even though it's Big 12 after dark. But I think this will be a shootout, like a 45, 48 game or something like that. Give me the Utah Utes at home. And that's going to do it for us today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and share this video. And we'll see you guys again on Monday. Thank you guys for watching.